In today's exercise, we're going to have an introduction to 3D drawings. So we're going to draw the rod support that we drew in the last exercise. The last exercise, we did a front view, a top view, and a right view. In this exercise, we're actually going to draw this as a 3D object. So what I want you to do is we're going to start from scratch. So I want you to make just a new template. And we're just going to select our AutoCAD template. I'm going to show you how to do a 3D drawing from it. So you notice here we have a box on the top of our drawing. So you have the top view, and then you will have a left view, and you will have a front view, and you will have a right view, and then you can do the orthographic views from this as well. So this is how we're going to do our 3D drawing. But we have to put, and I don't know if you have this available to you or not, but if you do not, if you click on the little arrows here, you select the workspace. If you deselect it, you may not have it showing up here on the top. So if yours looks like this, you'll have to hit this little arrow and then select workspace, and that will let us have the different options of our workspace. So drafting, this is what we've done before. This is the way all of our other drawings are done in just a 2D format. But we're going to go into the 3D modeling, and you notice it changes our toolbar up here. It gives us some different options to draw 3D objects. So we will be using some of these drawings. Whenever I do a 3D drawing, I like to start with a line to lay out our 3D object. So if we look back at our rod support, this starts out when we're just going to draw the base of this first, which is 4 inches by 2 inches. So I'm going to go back to our drawing, and I'm just going to pick a line, and I'm going to pick a spot on our drawing, and I'm going to come down, and this is our front view. Notice here in the box it says our front view. So this would be the front view of our rod support, and I'm just going to type in 4 and hit enter. And then I'm going to come over 90 degrees to that line and type in 2, enter. That will be our 2 inch. And then I'm going to come straight up in the Z axis and type in 0.5. So that will be our 1/2 inch thick base for our rod support. And I'm going to click on our box, and then just click on the end of this line and the end of that line, and that will make us a box that is 4 inches by 2 inches by a 1/2 inch tall. And then if we look at the back of our rod support here, this is 2.5 inches tall, and again it's 4 inches long, and then a 1/2 inch thick. So we'll do the same thing. We'll draw us a line. We're going to come up from the bottom of our box. We're going to come up 2.5, enter, and then we're going to go over 0.5 in this plane. So then we can make us another box from the back corner of our original box to the top of our new line, and that will make us a rough rod support box. So you notice these are two different boxes that we have drawn. So what we would like to do is unite those two boxes. If you click on this, you notice it is all highlighted. So here we have two different boxes. We need to unite them, and do that by click on this. So this is making a union, making two solids a union. So we're going to click on that. We're going to click on the first one. We're going to click on the second one. We're going to right click, and then that makes that one object. So this is the way we're going to make the start of our rod support. Okay, now that we got the basic shape of our rod support, now it's time I'm going to put the hole in the front here first. So if we look back here on our original, we have like a cutout here. This is actually where the rod would go that we're going to support. And we notice that it is 2 inches in the middle of our first drawing, and that is halfway through. And we notice it has a radius of 1 inch. So we have a 1 inch radius at the center of our rod support. So what we're going to do, we're going to come over to our drawing. Now we're going to draw us a cylinder. So we'll click on the box, click on the little arrow, and scroll down till we get cylinder, and then click on the cylinder. it's going to ask you what the base point of that cylinder is. So if you just find the center point of our line there, that will be where it would be 2 inches over. And then we just type in 1 for the radius, and that will be the radius of our box. So you notice we can go up or down whenever we're making our cylinder. Since we started from the bottom of our support, we're going to go up, and it doesn't matter how high you make this, because we're just going to use this cylinder to erase the part of our support that we've already made. So to do that, we're going to hit the subtract icon. So this is subtract. So it subtracts one solid from another. So you notice where the 1 is, you want to click on the one first that you want to keep, and then the second click is the one that is going to be erased. So we're going to select this, we're going to select the one that we want to keep, and then we're going to right click, and then we're going to select the object that we want to erase. And then that would remove our rod support, actually supports the rod in our bracket. You notice we got our construction lines here. So what I want to do, I just want to move this. I'm just going to type in M, and we're going to move this so we can see those lines that we made originally to make it. And we just want to delete those lines so they are not like in our way whenever we do the others. We will have to draw a few more construction lines to make some of our other drawings. So if you look back, now we'll work on this circle here. And we need to notice that this gives us the diameter. We notice this says R of 1, and this is the diameter of 1. So whenever we do our circle here, we need to make sure that we do 0.5 for the radius, or we select the diameter. So we notice this hole is located, it's going to be 2 over and 1 up. And it will be, again, the center of this line, and we're going to go up 1. And that would be where the center of our cylinder would go. So we're going to go back to our drawing. We're going to draw, and first we're going to start with a line, and we're going to come to the middle point of this line, and we're just going to go up in the z-axis 1. So we're going to make sure we're going in a straight line and hit 1 and then enter. And that will be where our cylinder is going to go. So this time we're going to do a cylinder, and we're going to start it here. And again, we can't type in 1 because 1 is the diameter. We have to type in 0.5 to get the radius of our cylinder. And you also notice that our cylinder is oriented in the wrong direction. So we have to select our cylinder, and then we have to do a rotate. So we're going to rotate this in a 3D function. And I want to rotate this from the end point of our line that we made, our construction line. So that is where the point that we are going to rotate that from. And then you notice if you hit like the red line, it shows you the plane at which you will rotate it from. And the red line is the plane we want to rotate. If we select the blue, it would be up and down. The green is in the other plane, so we don't want to rotate it in that plane. We want to make sure that we're rotating it in this plane. So we'll click that, and then it asks you what you want to rotate it from. Again, we're going to select the end point so we can rotate it 90 degrees, and then that will put it in our line. And then we'll do another subtract here. Subtract, you click first the object you want to save, right click, and then click the object you want to erase, and then that will put us a hole in our rod mount. And then we need to delete our line. Okay, once we have our hole in the back of our rod support, we have one more thing to do here. You notice we have a 1/2 inch radius of a roundover on each side of our rod support. So I'll show you how to do the roundover on our rod. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so we can see it a little better. So what we want to do is a fillet, and that is not up here, so we want to click on our solid, and that gives us the ability to do a fillet around our edge, and that is basically just a chamfer, or it rounds over our edge. So I am going to click this, and then as you notice down here in the bottom, it tells you you can have a couple different options. So we are going to do the radius, so we're going to type in R and then hit enter, so we know, so it knows that we want to tell it what radius we want to do this. And our radius is going to be 0.5, so we'll type in 0.5 and then hit enter. Now it's going to ask you what you want to radius at 0.5. So we want to radius this edge and this edge, and that will be our roundovers for our drawing. And then we're going to right click and then hit enter. And it's asking you one more time, but you got to make sure you hit enter to accept this. If you don't hit enter here, it's not going to accept that radius. So you have to hit enter one more time, and then that will be our rod support. I am not going to make you put dimensions on this. This should be the correct dimensions, so that you will not need to put any of these on there. I just put them on there for our reference, so whenever we draw that, we will know how to draw. But I do want you to save this as a 3-dimensional rod support drawing, and then I want you to submit that into Blackboard. So that will be our 3D drawing. One more thing I just want to show you briefly here. If you click on the front view, this should look like the isometrical drawing that we drew for the front view last time. If you click on the top view, that should show you the top view as it appeared in our last drawing. And then we do have a right-hand view too as well. It shows you the lines. These are not hidden lines, but that is where our circle goes through our line. So that is the way we're going to draw our 3-dimensional drawing. And you also can do like an orbit here, and you can pan and you can move it around and see it from different angles and different sides. That is how we're going to do our 3-dimensional drawings, and there's all kinds of different applications for 3-dimensional drawings. That is a very brief overview of how we're going to do it.